there is so much craziness in the world right now. No one knows who to trust. And so more than ever, everyone's looking for authentic experiences, whether it's in food, whether it's in the decor, whether it's in the entertainment. They're looking for authenticity. And we have to lean very heavily into that.
David Merrell, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I want to start by just having you, for those young event professionals out there who are still getting to know you, talk a little bit about your background and who you are and what you do in the event industry.
Well, I own a company in Los Angeles, California called AOO Events. We are an event design and production agency, and it has evolved over the years. I actually started in 1989, probably before a lot of these viewers are even born. Yeah. And I started as a caterer and grew up in the industry as a caterer, and then added the event design, the production aspects to it as I went along. And then there was a significant change in my career, and that was a significant change in everyone's life, 9/11. Yeah. 9/11 changed everything. And so I had to go through the process of downsizing to survive it, and I decided no more food. And so once I got rid of the food and kept the production and design, my company completely changed. I went from more social to more corporate, changed the name. I was originally called Original Occasion, but in 1989, how did you find a caterer? In the phone book. So if you weren't an A or a B or a C, you're never going to make it. So I put Ann, Original Occasion is my name. So that I started as a caterer. It's called an Original Occasion. Really? And then when the transition happened, I went to AOO Events because I didn't want a mom and pop sounding company when I was working for corporations.
Gotcha.
So, but, gone through a lot of trials and tribulations. Now we're based in downtown Los Angeles. We are more of an agency now, so you come to us to go everything from concept to identifying locations to pulling permits to creating the entire thing and then producing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So actually, I'm going to skip ahead to what was going to be a couple of questions down the list from what you just said. You started off in catering.
Yes.
Evolved into event design. Mm-hmm. Anybody who follows you on Instagram or just anywhere in the industry has seen the just incredible creative expression in what you guys have put out.
Yeah.
How did you evolve from somebody who was primarily, in the catering and food industry to the artistry, to the creativity of the event design that you have become?
Yeah, there's a journey for my company and there's a journey for me personally. So hard to address both, but I'll do them quick. The company was a natural evolvement. You start in catering, and of course you're doing decor in your buffets. Hey, can you add a band? So you find a band, and hey, I need a tent. Then you add the tent. So I naturally became full service, even as catering. So I learned from that, and myself personally, I started as a businessman. I had no idea I had a creative soul bone in my body. And during that 9/11 period of time where we had to make transitions, we had developed the decor side enough that there was a girl that was working for me who was brilliant. I thought, okay, we have the person to continue this part of it and sever ties with everything except for design. I started leaning into the design, and I actually realized that I had a flair, something I didn't even know I had. I say, fortunately and unfortunately, I am the lead designer in my company. Fortunately, because we're still winning awards. Unfortunately, because I really need to pull away and let others design.
Amen.
Okay. Yeah. But it came naturally. It's just something I discovered for myself personally. And the evolution of doing everything is kind of what most companies in the business are going to do. I'm sure you started as, a DJ, and now you're doing full AV production. So you evolve.
Yeah, I got lucky. I grew up in Las Vegas. My dad was an entertainer his whole life, a musician.
Okay. Yeah.
So I got to see and learn, what a real entertainer was like, and it was there. But something you said, so I always preach to, whether it's my kids a couple of them are starting to get into this industry, or to other people that I talk to, that finding what I call your creative voice. And it doesn't matter if that is applying to how you run a business, how you design an event, it's finding that way to express, tap into that talent that you have. A lot of people don't know how to find it.
Yeah.
And so they everything they do is generic or they're copying somebody else.
Yeah.
So you said it just kind of came naturally to you. Did you ever struggle with trying to, like, somebody, a client gave you a challenge and you couldn't quite find, or have you always just been able to say, just like see the end goal?
Well, seeing the end goal, I can walk into a room now and I can see exactly how it's going to look, and I know it will be that way when I actually transform it. But that takes time. My journey was first discovering I actually had a design eye. I never knew that. I believe everybody has talent, and it's a matter of whether you tamp it down, go, no, that's not me, or you actually allow yourself to be part of it. No one's great when they start, but it was the discovery of my creative side that was my first exploration. And then as I started paying attention, it was the girl who worked for me that I started paying attention to how she did it, learned how she did it, developed my own style. And then I started paying attention to other designers. And it was seeing how they did it and then adapting to my sensibilities or my design style. I think everyone has the creative bone in their body. It's just a matter of whether they want to let it out or not.
So would you say everybody's got the creative vision, but do they need is it the assertiveness? Is it a mentor? Like, what's the best way for somebody to find out how to tap into that and let it out? Is it somebody else that's got to tell you?
I think it's natural, because for me it was, once I actually started designing, I really, really got interested, and so it was just it was just natural for me. When I graduated from college, my godparents gave me a little plaque that I still have to this day. It says, "Do what you love, and the money will follow." So I've always been that person who paid attention to the passions and leaned into that, and then the money came. I wasn't intentional. So I've always been a kind of a go with the flow person. When I discovered I had the design chops, then I leaned into it, and then I started to flourish, and that's where we are today.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, so a lot of people in the event industry, the vendors, your planners, photographers, videographers, entertainers, caterers, designers, we start as a person doing that thing we love, and then we start a company. I would say a majority of people, from what I've seen, never grow beyond either just them or a couple of folks. You stay at a certain level. But there's a handful of people like you in the industry who have grown a company into something really, really big. And I think most people don't know how to get from here to here. What are some tips on, like, if you want to grow a company, what do you do?
I think you have to have those chops, because if you're going to be the creative side and the business mind, you got to be right brain and left brain equally, and not everyone is that. So if you are a really creative person and you realize you're not strong in the administrative side, you're going to have to find a partner or somebody who can actually do that for you to be able to grow. You have to have both elements. You can't be really great. I know 2 or 3 designers right off the top of my head that were brilliant. One of them worked for the Oscars for a year, but he never really made money in what he did, and eventually fell away. So you got to have that balance. And if you don't have it personally, then you got to find someone who you can partner with, a significant other, a partner who can do that for you. I am a right brain and a left brain person. I graduated from college with an accounting degree.
Okay.
So I didn't discover the creative side until way, way later. So I already had the business side down. So I think of both equally. And I've always been that way. So I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons for my success.
So being where you guys are at today, and again, looking at your portfolio of work, a lot of event professionals take what the client tells them they're looking for, and they give them that. I got to imagine when I look at your work, clients aren't coming to you and saying, "I want that." So you've gotten to a point where you get to present something to a prospective client that they didn't know they wanted, that they didn't see. How do you get to how does a young person how do you approach a client and offer something that they don't know they want versus just responding to a request? If that makes sense.
Well, in this industry, we are artists, but we're not creating the art for ourselves. We're creating it for our client, right? So the first part of my process is always sit and listen. Try not to go into your head of what you might want to suggest. Just listen to what they want to accomplish. If you look at my body of work, and you could look at the last 5 jobs I did, I just did a community bank opening last week. The week before that, I did a really high incentive trip. Then I did a production on the 50-yard line of SoFi Stadium. I'm all over the place because I adapt to what my clients want. You could not look at my stuff and go, yeah, that's Dave Merrell stuff. You just could, because it's always going to be different. I think that is just, you have to be an amazing listener in this business. And I think that's the biggest benefit you can have is sit back and don't fill your head with your own ideas. Listen to what they want to accomplish and digest it, and then start the feedback.
A young event professional doing one of the trades, let's call it one of the aspects of it, getting into the wedding industry is I think the easier path because it's more visible. You know how to reach the brides and grooms. You know how to reach the venues that are booking weddings. If somebody wants to get into corporate work, that's a little bit of a different ball game.
Yeah.
There's true business development. There's hunter mentality that I think has to come into finding those people. How would a young person, what tips would you give to somebody who says, I love doing weddings 1 or 2 nights a week on the weekends, but man, I sure would love to be able to expand my career and do more corporate. How do you get into that world?
If you already have a portfolio, a social portfolio, you have pictures of events you've done, backyard barbecues, weddings, bar mitzvahs. It's great to show, and you're going to always attract more business with that, but you can't attract corporate business with those pictures. So you're going to have to start thinking about a different marketing strategy, a separate page on your website, a different way of approaching them than you would a bride. So you're going to have to think about the mentalities very differently, because a corporation is not going to hire someone who's just doing backyard barbecues, unless that's what they want, right? So you have to think a little bit ahead as to, I think, what would speak to them, what would give them interest. And you are right; it's much easier to get into the social side of the business than the corporate side. And I don't think I would go back to the corporate side because I just much prefer the corporate side over the social side.
Okay. You, like I, got into this industry in the late '80s, and we've been doing this for a very long time. And obviously, we've seen the.
I think you started younger than I did, because I know you're younger than me now.
I'm 52. What are you?
Okay. I'm 64.
So we're ballpark.
12 years difference.
There you go.
You started young.
Yeah.
You started young. I started 29 years old.
Yeah, I was 19-ish when I started DJing events. And then that grew into, again, luckily having a dad who had been a musician and an entertainer his whole life. Yeah. That's just, even when I had the day job, the corporate day job, for so many years, that was just always in my blood. So as a side thing, no matter what else I was doing, whether it was college or professional life, I was always entertaining. Mm-hmm. And I started doing private events, the small ones, the backyard barbecues, and it grew from there. But, oh, shoot. What was I just asking you?
I don't know. I was interested in finding out. I don't know where it was.
Oh, yeah. As two guys who have been doing this for a long time, who started, it's changed so much. And I you guys obviously have a team, a big team. But what's different? How would you describe the industry before social media?
Oh my God.
And the industry now, because not only is sales and marketing different, because that's primarily how we reach our clients, but you weren't able to show off your work and have the portfolio the way you used to.
And honestly, I don't know if my social media presence is driving business to me. It's tough for me to answer that question, because after a certain point in your career, you're at a certain level of clientele. Like, I usually have the whales. Like, if you're coming to me, it's $100,000 or more. Those are not people that are going to go to your social media and find you from that. They may go confirm, may have heard of you and then go confirm. So it's always important to be on your social media game. But my clients don't come to me from social media as they would a bride and groom.
Yeah.
They would do that. So the industry has evolved so immensely over the years. I think that the wedding industry is going to go through another huge evolution very, very shortly. I think the evolution for the corporate side of the business happened after the economic downturn in 2008, 2009, because it was before that time that we were in an industry where, oh yeah, they brought in the party planners, the ILE people, but they didn't really consider it part of their marketing. When they came out and they realized that if we're going to spend this money, there has to be an ROI, a purpose for spending that money, then we started integrating into the marketing department. So the entire corporate side of this business has really evolved in a way where it's become a massive necessity. The social side of the business is a little different because you are dealing with brides and grooms who most likely have the opinion that they could do it themselves, but they're busy that day, so I'll let you do it. They don't respect the amount of work and the expertise that goes into a planner on the social side. I'm a little nervous what AI is going to do to the wedding side of the business, because I'm already seeing AI make its way into the not, so if you already go to the wedding planning websites and now there's an AI person there to actually guide you through the entire process, let's face it, the wedding industry is kind of a cookie cutter. There's certain dates you have to meet. You have to think about your guests, your timelines. I think that could easily be automated, which in my mind is not a bad thing because, again, I don't think the clients on the social side really respect what we do as a profession. Corporate side, they respect what we do. They understand what we deliver. So there's an evolution right there. And that wasn't that way back in the early 2000s. We were just kind of like the party planners that, not really any purpose. There wasn't any purpose for events at that time.
So that's interesting that you say that. I'm interested in your opinion. I've always been of the mindset AI is the current example of that thing. I feel like there's always a pie. In 08, 09, that pie got smaller. So the best players in the industry just had to make sure their piece got bigger. You know what I mean? Like that's how you kept it. So for the folks that are going to be relying on AI to do planning, as an entertainer, to design me the perfect wedding playlist for a couple that grew up in the 90s and loves old school hip. You could do all this.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's always going to be a place for a soul. Somebody that's got a heart and a soul. And I think that again, the pie for those people is always going to be there, and the artists in the industry just have to find a way to make sure your piece gets bigger, if that makes sense.
Yeah, AI is a learning tool. It's not, so as it learns what humans do, it reflects more what humans do. So there's always the human element that's always stayed a part of all these events. The reason why I'm a little more concerned about the social side is because there's already somewhat of a lack of respect of the clients for the planners. And so if they think they could do it themselves and save money, they will. Writing a check out of your personal checkbook is much different than writing out of a corporate checkbook. Now, if someone on the corporate side, especially in an event department, really wants to get into the minutia of the details, then they're probably going to lose their job because they need to think about big picture. And they've got to hire in vendors that they know they can trust. Yeah. That's not going to go away. And the planning of that, especially on the corporate side, is there's no cookie cutter way to do anything that we do in the corporate side. There is for weddings. Save the date goes out at a certain time. Invitation goes out at a certain time. Everything has a kind of a formula. Not that way for corporate. So there's always going to have to be that there. Not to say that the social planners are going to go away, but I think they're going to be more for the high-end people who don't really want to deal with AI. They're going to be more people that could now do it themselves. That will take business away from the social side.
Yeah. So I think a takeaway there, if you're an up-and-comer in the industry, is that you better learn to be a true artist in whatever fashion or form that you express yourself in, so that it's clear that you need to make sure you could not, what you put out couldn't be reproduced by AI. You got to make sure that somebody looks at your work and knows that it's at a level that somebody would aspire to want to bring in for their event.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So as you mentioned, when companies come to you, which they do now, the companies come to you, and it's not because they came across your Instagram profile.
For the reputation of the company,
Yeah. What I think, more than social media, I still think that in-person networking is the way for a young event professional to grow. And as two past ILEA chapter presidents, I've often sung the tune that, investing yourself into an organization like that, even today, even with social media, is still an unbelievably valuable
Absolutely.
tool. Thoughts on what networking means in this industry?
Well, I think the overarching theme is about ILEA here, right? Because this is an ILEA event they're going to be doing tomorrow and the next day. And to me, that had a huge value because it spoke strictly to our industry, strictly to the special events industry. There's NACE, caterers, there's MPI, that's meeting planners, but there was nothing that really spoke just to us. What's the value in that? If I'm an owner, then there's a value in being able to talk with someone like you to have a peer-to-peer conversation, and get those perspectives that you could never be able to get by sitting around your employees. They'll never know what we as owners go through.
Yeah.
They'll never know. That's important. For me, ILEA was I wanted to have a beyond Southern California presence. I wanted to have a national presence. ILEA was my way to do that because not only did I get to go and meet folks like you and all over the country who are owning businesses, but when I started to actually pick up jobs, I had all the resources in Boston, in Atlanta, in Miami because of ILEA. That's a huge value. And I also wanted to elevate my own personal brand. So ILEA was a great way for me to meet people, and when I was speaking, get the exposure I need, like I'm speaking tomorrow, to do that. Now, if you're an employee and you're looking at ILEA, the first question I ask is, what do you want to get out of it? Is it really networking that you're looking for ILEA? If it is networking, and you're a rental company, and you're photographer or an AV company, there are clients here. There aren't clients for me here because most of the people that I'm in this group are more my vendors than potential customers. I had to look elsewhere for them.
Okay.
So, networking, yes, networking is important, especially depending on the business you're in. Rental companies, they can network with everybody. Everyone needs chairs, tables, like I said, AV equipment. They all need that. Entertainment companies, they all need that. So it's just picking the network that works for you. And yeah, if you want to be a wallflower, you don't have to network. But if you do want to expand your brand personally or as a business, you have to extend yourself. ILEA is a great way to do it. NACE, you'll find your peers and clients in many very different places.
Love it. Okay, a couple more for you. Any either young event professional or somebody that hasn't reached the level you've reached aspires to get to, like I think a lot of people say you're the pinnacle of what a lot of us are trying to achieve in our lifetime in this industry. And it's fun to get a chance to kind of get into your head a little bit. Tell me about a typical week for you. What are some of the things that you do every week? What types of meetings are you taking? What dominates your time? Are you stuck in the minutia of email like the rest of us? Like, what does a week look like for David Merrell?
As an owner, when you think the company gets bigger and bigger, you'll have less and less to do. That's a fallacy. You have more and more to do. And when it's quiet, you're even busier because you're like trying to push everybody to find out where the next business is. You need to make sure you have the gas coming into the engine. Yep. It varies every week, and the reason I was smiling or kind of laughing about this is that I don't know if you're aware, but I had a catastrophic fire that happened in my warehouse last June.
I did not know.
Actually, it'll be 2 years in June. Okay, and it was when we came out of COVID. We're all gangbusters. We're busy as hell, and we're all taking off again. And then the fire knocked my feet again. So I'm actually at the point where I'm rebuilding the company again for the fourth time from being knocked off my feet. So my day now is sitting with the employees, trying to make sure that I work with them on every job to get their perspective, and my goal is to lift them up and start pulling back. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm at the point where I'm thinking about, an exit strategy. There is an exit strategy for entertainment companies, AV companies, production companies like me, but there's a lot of steps we have to take. And one of the biggest steps is I have to lift out. So I have to keep training every day. My number one job is working with my employees all the time and training them. So when I'm on the road like this, they all have my phone number. I have I've been getting buzzes right now, which I'm sure are my employees on my phone over there. But my primary job is to be there for my employees so they're raised up so I can actually pull back. I worked on my exit strategy 2008, 2009. I was maybe 40s, 44, 45. And it's like, okay, we have time to work on the exit strategy. And when 2008, 2009 happened, the economic downturn and the real estate bust, I was 22 employees and I had to get rid of all but 3 to survive that. And then when we shot back out and into the 2010 through 2017, got back up to 18 employees and identified all the people, put them in place again, and then COVID happened and knocked all my employees except for 2 out. So now this time when I came out of COVID, I'm like, okay, I have to, and now I'm like, I still have time. I got 5-6 years to identify them. And so I went back into the process as soon as business came back and we were back out, doing events for corporations again. And that's when the fire happened. And so it knocked me off my feet again. So I'm building back. Now I'm getting a little more desperate because I'm getting towards the end of my career. And I'm like, okay, please don't knock me off my feet again. I know where I need to be. I understand. I actually got really close to having my company sold during COVID. And I understand what EBITDA is. I understand what investors are looking for. And so now I have that footprint of how I can package this up to nicely retire.
I love it. Fantastic. Well, first of all, thank you so much for this time. I know there's a ton of people that are going to appreciate this absolute gold that you've been spouting here for us. People that haven't met you know you because you talk about current trends and that's a big thing you've been doing for a long time. Yes. And you just presented at the special event.
I did, brand new seminar. Yeah. So they're getting the new stuff tomorrow.
Yeah. So those of us here in Detroit get to in a much more intimate setting get to see you, which we're all very excited about. Yeah. For the evergreen content here in 2025, early 2025, give me one of the big ones that you're talking about these days. The big trends in the event industry.
I think the one word that comes to the foreground is the most important one is authenticity. There is so much craziness in the world right now. No one knows who to trust. And so more than ever, everyone's looking for authentic experiences, whether it's in food, whether it's in the decor, whether it's in the entertainment. They're looking for authenticity. And we have to lean very heavily into that.
Fantastic. That was awesome. David, I can't tell you how much I appreciate this time. I'm looking forward to being able to sit in that audience and listen to you tomorrow, and then hopefully at some special events, or if ILEA Live ever comes back, or whatever version of these conferences. I'm looking forward to being able to spend more time with you. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And I'll see you on stage tomorrow.
Awesome. Cool. Looking forward. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
That was great.